My name is Ben Trump, and my service learning project presentation is on a camp that I had chosen to serve at named Camp Conquest. Camp Conquest is a nonprofit Christian retreat center and summer camp located in the northernmost corner of Lancaster County in Denver, Pennsylvania. It conducts summer camps for children and youth, as well as functioning as a facility resource for groups wishing to conduct retreats. The camp got its start in 1959 when a gentleman by the name of Bob Sprecher purchased the present property, which was a pig farm. He did so with the hope and dream of developing it into a retreat facility which would serve troubled youth. Over approximately 8 years, he hosted families on the farm as he built a 2-story lodge with dorms and a kitchen and dining room. During the 1960s, as he was completing this work, the Northern Atlantic District of Grace Brethren Churches, under the leadership of Pastor Bob Kern, were conducting camp ministries in various areas outside of the greater Philadelphia region, and they became known as Camp Conquest. Due to family tragedy, Bob Sprecher had to move his family away from the pig farm, selling the property to the Atlantic District of Grace Brethren Churches in 1968. And then it was shortly thereafter that official Camp Conquest camps actually began in 1970. Various leaders have served and led Camp Conquest, with the present-day executive director being Michael Gerhart. And Camp Conquest now employs 8 year-round employees, up to 30 seasonal staff members, and logs greater than 30,000 hours of volunteerism throughout a calendar year. I chose to work with Camp Conquest because of being aware of their ministry, but more importantly because of their mission and vision. Camp Conquest has the mission to evangelize and disciple children and youth so that they can be developed into the leaders of tomorrow, and thus developing their respective skills to go back home and serve their communities for Christ. Their vision is to know Christ and make Him known for anybody that attends camp. And it was because of personal experiences growing up, both during my childhood and youth, and then later serving throughout high school and post-high school years at a different camp, is why I determined to seek out Camp Conquest and do my service learning project with them. Largely in part just because of how I had personally seen the immersion in a camp atmosphere can change and grow and develop youth and children during their impressionable years. Camp Conquest serves children and youth in various ages from 7 to 15. They conduct both day as well as overnight camps throughout the summer. And after the summer months, when their program is completed, they also allow weekend retreats for church youth groups and or other groups in order to come and have a relaxing and retreat full-time. Camp Conquest deals with the several issues of the population that attends camp in the social, political, and economic, cultural realms. Socially, relationships amongst campers and leaders who are volunteer at camp. Relationships are forged during the week of summer camp that the campers are there, allowing them to grow and develop interpersonal skills. And as they develop those interpersonal skills, they begin to build relationships in which they grasp the aspect that community is larger just in and of themselves. They can see that church community is larger and can be grasped outside of their respective home church, and has them consider needs of others above themselves. And learning, there's a host of learning that takes place as one attends summer camp, but specifically spiritually, it allows children and youth to be able to personalize their faith and understand and grasp what they believe and why they believe it. Being under the leadership of the Consortium of Grace Brethren Churches Worldwide, Camp Conquest is part of the Charis Fellowship, which is politically involved in issues of civility, religious freedom, and gender identity. And as campers attend Camp Conquest, they are instructed in civility, of how to give common courtesies to others who may not hold the same worldviews or viewpoints as others, and how to have meaningful conversations apart from violence or demeaning or degrading behavior because of the lack of common beliefs. From a religious freedom standpoint, there is religious liberty, which allows persons and institutions the ability to operate free from governmental coercion. And because of this, it's explained to campers that their personal, public, and vocational lives can be used for Christ because of the religious freedoms associated with this country. And gender identity, the Charis Foundation follows that gender is an essence of who one is, that it's a divinely designed purpose for humanity, and that camp helps to support this right for privacy, creating an environment in which boys and girls can feel that this right is safe, secure, and protected. Economically, there's a large volunteerism aspect to camp, as mentioned by the 30,000 plus hours of volunteerism by the camp and the low amount of actual employed staff. And it's through this that campers are able to see opportunities for service towards others by the leaders who attend, but then also as they grasp that aspect, how they can take that back home and thus be leaders in volunteerism themselves. Also in the economic realm, camp does not allow electronics, cell phones, or money to be brought into camp. And part of this is that campers can then just focus on their time at camp rather than seeing the differences of socioeconomic classes which are attending camp. The cultural realm, campers are encouraged and allowed to just use this facility as a retreat facility in which they are from multiple different backgrounds or cultures, and yet they still have a common area of getting together, worshiping Christ, learning about Him, and just enjoying time as a child or youth. And through that exploration, they're able to just really have this atmosphere in which they can experience things which, through that exploration of creation, they wouldn't be able to have if they were not at camp. So I got involved with Camp Conquest by being familiar with the camp through a prior church that I was involved with, but I communicated with one of the program directors by the name of Steve Weaver and expressed my desire to serve at Camp Conquest, and it was through some communications both via phone as well as email in which I expressed my ability and desire to volunteer a minimum of 30 hours at camp. Because of my lack of ability to commit for a week-long camp, Steve and I determined that my skills would be utilized as a day camp nurse, and my responsibilities with that role included registering campers, providing the safe administration of prescribed medicines to campers during their stay, as well as basic first aid and nursing assessment for any injuries or medical needs. I also was able to facilitate team building, some critical thinking skills, even times of reflection and character development as I led some group activities with campers too. I served at Camp Conquest from July through October, as mentioned again, both in the day camp nurse role as well as an activities leader. And while not directly involved with the provision of Camp Conquest's program curriculum, I was able to provide leadership and oversight in safety and wellness for campers through my functioning as the day camp nurse, as I dispensed prescribed medications, ensuring that campers were able to remain focused on enjoying their time at camp while still needing to treat medical conditions for which they have the prescribed medications. As far as future project revisions, my time at camp has just really allowed me to grasp the greater aspect of something bigger than myself, and has really spurned a desire in me to continue my volunteerism at camp, sort of apart from being pushed from an outside force or facility as was needed with this service learning project. Come 2020, my hopes are to not just function as a day camp nurse, but function as an overnight camp nurse for a week-long period. And with my wife being a nurse as well, we've even talked about serving together in that realm up at Camp Conquest. I've had 3 objectives which I had starting this service learning project. My first objective was that by the end of the project, the learner will have acted as camp nurse by providing routine and emergency care to campers dependent on each and every situation. And I was able to meet this objective as I dispensed prescribed medications which were routine and scheduled for campers, and I was responsible for campers anywhere between 4 and 10 of them who required medicines throughout their stay at camp. I was functioning in hours between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. during this time. My second objective was that by the end of the service learning project, the learner will have assisted with registration and medical screening of campers, also helping to inventory medications and taking pertinent medical histories. I was able to accomplish this objective on a Sunday check-in, as I functioned as a 3-nurse team, as we were responsible for providing the medical screening for campers as they checked into camp. During this time, I was responsible for checking campers for head lice, as is a camp policy to anybody who comes and stays using the facilities. And it was a little bit challenging, but I had to use some humor and conversation with the ages of campers from 7 to age 12 as I met them and then quickly screened their heads for lice. And my third objective was that by the end of the learning project, the learner hopes to have learned assessment skills on how to provide age-appropriate health care to school-age children in a camp setting. And it was sort of through the first 2 objectives which helped me to accomplish this objective. There were multiple instances in which I was able to be challenged to hone my assessment skills as it was related to the camp population of children anywhere between 7 and 15 years of age. It was satisfying to be able to use my knowledge and assessment skills in order to determine if any condition needed further investigation or if it was something minor that needed more emotional support rather than physical care. The impact of the population of my time served at camp, that camp can be a really monumental time for a child's life. There's lots of learning in the developmental, mental, and spiritual realms that takes place during this time of a child's life. And the impacts that occur during camp can really fast forward people into further areas of growth as they experience those. Not only did I function as a camp nurse, being able to allow the campers to enjoy the time away from home while still being treated for medical conditions, but I was also to act as a role model as I functioned as an activities leader, ensuring that camp could be continued through the campers' visit as safety and target sports, group challenge events, and the use of the water slide were utilized. Professionally, I was impacted through my time of service at camp, just being able to grasp the global impact that summer camps exhibit on a camper and his or her family members. Through my nursing knowledge, I realized that there is a holistic perspective that needs to be considered as the pediatric population is cared for, and as I functioned as a camp nurse, I was able to understand that it's not just the kids that I'm caring for, but it's also the camper's guardian, whether that's a parent or someone else caring for them, and how the time away at camp serves the parents or guardians as they have a time of relaxation apart from the student attending camp too. I was also able to be challenged in my critical thinking skills as I had to utilize the assessment aspects of dealing with a pediatric population. Personally, again, this was something where I experienced individual growth because of being pushed out of my comfort zone and functioning in an area of a nursing realm that I'm not typically used to. But I'm so glad for that challenge because I can have seen how it has grown me as well. And it's also given me the desire to actually expand my volunteerism with areas outside of the camp realm, such as functioning in my nursing abilities at my local church.